Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. Today is episode 3 of GCP Zero to Hero series, and in this episode we will focus on GCP IAM. In the previous two lectures, we learned about fundamentals of GCP and also GCP hierarchy. So we learned what is an organization in GCP, what are folders, what are projects, how to set up billing accounts for your projects, and also how to define billing alerts for your projects. In case you haven't followed the previous two episodes, I would highly recommend you to check them. Now, coming to today's video, we will focus on the most commonly used GCP service, that is GCP IAM. So we'll understand what is GCP IAM, why GCP IAM. We will learn about users, groups, service accounts, which are identities. Then we'll also understand what are roles, policies, and permissions. Towards the end of this video, through a simple demo and through the GCP console as well as Gcloud, I will show you how cloud engineers use the GCP IAM service on day-to-day basis. This video is going to be very insightful. Make sure you watch it till the end. Now, before we get started, complete notes for this series is provided through this GitHub repo. You can go through these day-wise folders. For example, today is day 3. So you can get to this day 3 folder. You will find a README file. And within this README file, you will find examples. You will find the commands. If required, you will also find the architecture diagrams. So after watching this video, you can use it for quick revision, or just before your interviews, you can also use them for your quick revision. Make sure you start this repository, fork it, so you get continuous updates. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and understand what is this IAM service. If I tell you the direct textbook definition, it will be difficult for you to understand because the textbook definition says IAM stands for Identity and Access Management, and it helps you with authentication and authorization. I know there are a lot of beginners. So what I'll try to do, I will first take a real life example, something that every one of you can correlate. Then I'll try to convert this example to GCP IAM, right? So I'll try to make it very simple. First of all, imagine there is a bank. So let's say there is a secure bank, and within this bank, there are 3 areas. First area is the help desk area, just like any bank has. Then let's say there is an area which is called employee bay area. So within this employee bay area, all the bank IT support, customer support, sales department, assume everyone sits in the employee bay desk. Then there is a bank safe where all the money within the bank, all the important documents, gold, everything is saved within the bank safe. Obviously, this bank has a security guard, and the responsibility of this security guard is to authenticate the people. So what this security guard does? Security guard verifies the identity of people who tries to get into this bank. Let's say a bank customer wants to get into this bank. So the security guard says, hey, can you tell me your bank account ID? Or maybe can you show me any relevant document? If a bank employee tries to get into this bank, again the security guard says, hey, can I check your ID? Or can you access the door through the fingerprint by showing your fingerprint or by accessing through this secure fingerprint access? If a manager tries to access this bank, or maybe a senior tries to get into this bank, again the security guard says, hey, please authenticate, only then you can get into this bank. So what is the security guard doing here? Security guard is performing the authentication. But this is not over. Imagine if this is the only entry check, or if this is the only check within the bank, now the bank customer can directly get into this bank, can directly get into the safe area, can access the gold and go back. So what bank also does, along with authentication, bank also checks something called authorization. What does authorization mean? What a particular user or a particular user has access to which particular area. Now, if you're talking about a bank customer, this bank customer is only authorized to access the help desk area. So once this person gets through the security card, this person can only go to the help desk area. But if you're talking about, let's say, bank manager can access the safe for good reasons. Bank manager can go to the help desk area for any issue, or bank manager can also go to the employee bay to see how people are working. But when it comes to the bank employee can definitely access the help desk area and access the employee bay area. Even though this person is a bank employee, this person is not authorized to access the safe. So what is more important than authentication is authorization. Of course, authentication is a first point of check. Without authentication, maybe the manager cannot even enter the bank, which is a very good case. But a lot of people are usually authenticated, or a lot of people usually have authentication. But authorization is the one that defines the role or that defines the scope of a particular person, right? So this is called authentication and authorization. We all use it on day-to-day basis. Now let's try to correlate this from GCP point of view, right? Now that you understood what is the difference between authentication and authorization, let's see how this concept works in GCP. Just like your bank, there are multiple services within GCP. Of course, they are not help desk service, or they are not employee bay, they are not safe service. But within GCP, you have services. For example, we learned there is a service called billing service. We use that service as an admin. Then there is a service called GKE, which is a Kubernetes service. It's okay if you don't understand what is it. Then there is a compute service through which users can create a virtual machine. There is a storage service. And let's say there is something called a serverless service. It's okay if you don't understand this as well at this point. Now, just like a bank, not everyone should be allowed to enter the GCP, right? Ignore accessing these services for a while, but not everyone should be able to access the GCP account of a company as well. As a DevOps engineer, you might have set up this GCP account. We saw how to set up an account using Google Workspace. Let's say you have set up this account. Now, you should define who can enter this GCP account or who can enter the GCP console. Just like bank, of course, in bank, there is a security guard. You cannot have that in GCP. So what GCP offers is something called IAM, Identity and Access Management. And this IAM service takes care of both authentication as well as authorization. As part of authentication, we will see how to do that later point of the video. But as part of the authentication, what GCP does, so GCP tries to check if a user is trying to access the account, if this user has the permission or not. But Abhishek, how can it do? Basically, the DevOps engineer or the cloud administrator, they just go to the GCP IAM service. If anyone joins new to the company, or if there is an employee who now wants access to GCP, so DevOps engineer goes to this IAM service, creates a user for this particular employee, and using that user ID, right, or using their email address, they can log into the GCP account. So it is directly or indirectly helping you with the authentication. If this GCP IAM service does not exist, DevOps engineer or cloud engineer cannot create a user. If the user is not created, obviously GCP will not allow people to get into the GCP console or access it through the GCP CLI. Okay, Abhishek, this is about authentication. Okay, here DevOps engineer creates an identity. What happens after that? Now, just like bank, the key part is authorization. Now, everyone who has access to the GCP account should not be able to access the billing service, should not be able to access the GK service. Why? Imagine there is a junior developer, okay? Someone who very recently joined the company. Your manager said, hey Abhishek, or hey DevOps engineer, create a account for this junior developer. So you have created an account for this junior developer. Now the junior developer access the GCP console. Imagine there is no authorization. Now this junior developer can just head to the billing service, create some budget alerts, or maybe this junior developer can increase the budget alerts, which is very, very risky for your organization. Or this junior developer unknowingly creates 10 Kubernetes clusters. Now again, this creates a huge impact for your organization in terms of costing. Imagine this junior developer deleted a very important Kubernetes cluster called production cluster. Now, this might lead to complete downtime. So that's why authorization is important. Now, how IAM helps with authorization? Every time when Cloud Engineer creates a user, at the same time, Cloud Engineer also creates something called role, right? So I'll try to make it simple for you, easy to understand. There are two parts. One is authentication, let's call auth, and one is authorization. Both of them are served by GCP IAM. With respect to authentication, Cloud Engineer use the IAM service and creates identity called user. There are other identities as well. I'll come to that point. But Cloud Engineer creates a user. At the same time, Cloud Engineer also creates a role for the user, right? Which is part of authorization. And within this role, Cloud Engineer defines what permissions, let's say read permission, write permission, or admin permission. What permission should this user have on the GCP console? So here the Cloud Engineer can say, okay, this person should have read access to GKE. This person should have write access to virtual machines. Or this person should only have read access to the billing service. So this way, for every user that is created, Cloud Engineer can create a role along with the permissions. Abhishek, but will the DevOps engineer or will the cloud engineer do it for every single user? Then it becomes very difficult because in my company, every day, 100 people join. So, I work for a very big company, MNC, and at least 100 people join every day. So every day, if the cloud engineer sets up a user, which is simple part, maybe click of a button, but every day, if the cloud engineer start creating the roles, defining the permissions, then the cloud engineer will dedicatedly do only this particular task. So that's why, of course, it's tedious. So that's why what IAM says, it's okay, you can define groups as well. And whenever someone newly joins, you can add that person to the group, and this group will have the common permissions. For example, Cloud Engineer creates a group called developers, and Cloud Engineer will assign a role for this developer. So all the developers within the organization, they will have common roles. Let's say a new developer joined 101. Cloud Engineer creates a user xyz@gmail.com and adds a user to the group. That's it. Only two steps. Create a user, add user to the existing group. So it's a one-time activity for the Cloud Engineer to create multiple groups such as dev, QE, DevOps, management, etc., etc. So these are the identities, users and groups, and using the roles and permissions, authorization is implemented. Abhishek, I have one final question. So everything looks perfect till now. I understood what is role, what is user, what is group, and you'll also show me in some time how to do it through the console. But finally, what if one service, you know, I have a use case where the virtual machine should access the storage. Very common use case, right? So I have an application within the virtual machine, and this application should access a database service within GCP. Now I'm not talking about user. You explained IAM from user point of view, but here one service wants to interact with other service. How IAM can do it? It is exactly the same. Only thing that differs in the identities. There is something called as service account, right? Service account is just like users or just like user ID for the users. Service account is for the services. So in this case, what a cloud engineer does, cloud engineer creates a service account for virtual machine and grants a role to this service account, which will have read access to the DB. For a cloud engineer, it doesn't matter if it's a service account or if it's a user, the activity is exactly the same. But if it is a service account is created. If it is a user is created. But role is common and permissions are exactly the same way. Also, what GCP does, whenever a service is created, GCP creates a default service account as well, so that your work is little reduced. If you don't want to use the default service account that GCP creates, you can go ahead and you can define your own service account. Now things will become easy as we head to the GCP console, which I'm going to do now. I will go to the GCP console. I will show you how to do these activities. But before that, for a very quick revision, what does IAM do? So IAM takes care of two important tasks. One is authentication, one is authorization. As part of authentication, cloud engineers deals with multiple entities. One is user, group, service account. In case you want to integrate your SSO or federation, you can also do it through something called as domain. But ignore this for now. And when it comes to authorization, with the same IAM service, what cloud engineers do, they create something called roles and they define permissions within the roles. Now this user or this group or service account is binded with the roles so that they get the defined permissions. This binding is done something through called as policy. This is it. This is the concept of IAM. Whenever you have a question, just try to correlate with the bank example or go through our documentation. Now I'll show you the entire thing through GCP console. So as the first step, I will create a project. I'll create a project with name, something that is relevant. I can go back and delete later. So I'll call it as Day-3 IAM. Perfect. I will create this project within no organization. It is getting created. It's just created. Let's switch to that project, Day-3 IAM. Now what we'll do first, either you can create a IAM user, right? To create an IAM user, what you can do, first search for IAM, product page IAM, perfect. So either you can create an IAM user or you can create a role and then you can assign role to the user, anything that you want to do. So what I'll do first, I'll show you through the user. Imagine there is a request that came to you. There is a new person joined the organization. You are a cloud engineer. And this person requests access to the GCP console. And this person says, hey, Abhishek, I need access to few services. This person gives you a list of services. What you will do as a cloud engineer, You will head to this IAM service. You will click on grant access. You will take the user ID of this person. Imagine the user ID of this person is veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com. This is one of my old email address. I'll just use it. But in real time, if you're working for Amazon.com, the user ID of this person might be Abhishek@Amazon.com, something like that. It will not be @gmail.com. Okay. So this is identity of the person. What we have learned in the theory part, once we add the identity, that is once we do the authentication part, the next step is authorization. Okay, this person will be authenticated, but what services should this person be authorized to? This is where roles comes into picture, right? We learned that. Select a role. GCP also provides you a basic role. So let's say you want to go for viewer. There is a junior developer. You can directly grant the viewer access where this person has view access to all the services. Or maybe there is a manager. Manager wants read access to all the services. So you just grant viewer access so that they can see everything. But they cannot edit or they cannot delete. So what you can simply do, click on save. That's it. Now you will see veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com is created, and this person has viewer access to all of the services within GCP. You can also do other thing like instead of viewer access. Let's say this person says, hey, what I want to do is I want only some services. Or you go back to this person and say, hey, I cannot give you view access to everything. Tell me which service you need. And this person says, hey, Abhishek, I actually need editor access to AutoML. Or this person says, I just need view access to AutoML. So what you will do, you will head to AutoML service and you will click on AutoML viewer and change the access accordingly. That's it. Now you can see this user is binded to this role through this particular policy. Now veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com will only have view access to AutoML, right? You can also try it. You can just log out. You can log in through this particular user, right? And you will see that this person will only have AutoML viewer access. We will see that in next classes as well. I will show you how to generate a password, how to log in through the IAM user. For now, only try to understand this part. Okay, cool. Now this is done. But Abhishek, what about groups? You can also do it. If you scroll down, you will find the group section. So what you can do is, okay, this is a future requires an organization. Anyways, if you have an organization account, you can create a group and you can add multiple users to this group, right? Finally, you can also define custom roles. Every time a person asks you, you don't have to create a role. But what you can also do is you can head to the role section and you can create something like create a role. And for all the developers within the organization, I will create something called a developer role. Wait for it. Sometimes the service takes time to load. So I'll create something called developer role for developers. Let's keep all of them default. And let's say these permissions are needed. Okay, add permissions. I'll randomly select few things in the interest of time. Okay, these are the 3 permissions. Click on create. Perfect. You can see a developer role is created. Now, instead of granting access to everyone within the organization, you can create roles like this. Developer role, QA role, manager role, admin role, DevOps engineer role, cloud engineer role, SRE role. And if a SRE engineer joins, just take their ID, take the consent from the manager that this person belongs to the SRE team. And instead of AutoML viewer role, you can just grant the person SRE admin role. So this is how you deal with authentication and authorization. One more important thing to understand. The best part of GCP, you can define IAM at the project level. Right now, what we are doing, you can also do it at organization level. If you are doing at organization level, all the projects will inherit the access from the organization. So you don't have to again do it at project level. If you have done it at organization level, every project will inherit the same access. Abhishek, can we also do it through the console? Definitely yes. I mean the Cloud Shell. Definitely yes. Click on the Cloud Shell, activate the Cloud Shell, right? Authorize it, go back to our GitHub, go to Day-3 folder, and you will find bunch of commands here. How you do it? First, you can create a project, you can set the project, and then you can create a user and grant access to the user, right? You can do it through the CLI as well. For example, now we have the Cloud Shell. First, I'll show you. Export a project ID. We'll export a random project ID. What I'm calling this project as DevOps IAM demo date. Increase the font size. Okay. G-Cloud projects create. So G-Cloud is basically a CLI which is used to interact with it. We learned it in the previous classes. G-Cloud projects create project ID. We have exported the project ID variable. Okay. Create. Now let's see if this project will be created. Waiting. Project creation is in progress. Now let's click on this. We should see a new project. Okay, let's go back. Try one more time. IAM demo. Finish successfully. So it says this is a project that is created. Let's refresh. Leave page. Let me click on all. Perfect. So you can see DevOps IAM demo. So now we have created project through G-Cloud. We haven't used the console, right? This is how you can use the CLI as well. Okay. Then as the next step, you can set the config just to say that, okay, we are currently within this project. Hey, G-Cloud, remember this configuration. Great. So we have set up this config as well. Now using this command within this project that we have created, we can, of course, I will use a different member. So what I'll do is I will say user as veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com. So I'll change this user to veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com. Fire this command. Perfect. What did it say? It said, okay, go ahead and check now. Do you see within IAM a user called veeramalla.abhishek? I'll refresh this page again. Leave the page. Let's see if G-Cloud is working as expected. Perfect. In the new project as well, that is DevOps IAM demo, veeramalla.abhishek@gmail.com is created with the view role. So you learned through the CLI and you also learned through the console. This is very interesting, right? Especially if you're a beginner, you must have enjoyed it. So this is it for today's lecture. GCP IAM. I would highly recommend you to go through the notes. Please go through it. It will just take 10 to 15 minutes, but it will greatly help you with the revision. Make a habit of it after watching every episode in this series. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please share it with every GCP enthusiast that you know. We are doing a free GCP Zero to Hero series. See you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.